Okay, are we ready?
You betcha. As soon as I do this real quick.
You said that with a lot of confidence.
You bet.
Okay, Scooby-Doo.
Oh, I clicked the wrong fucking...
Oh, but now we know there's a storm warning for Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's good to know.
Because he accidentally Googled PA instead of opening Patreon.
You know how we've all done
Stay
that.
safe, PA.
All right, good to go.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll let you slurp and go. We're good to go.
Good to go.
Hello, lore heads, and welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends champions from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today we're talking about the Empress of the Elements, Qiyana, who was released June 28th, 2019.
Yeah, she real new.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I feel kind of bad now if people see video recordings of this that they're now going to know that I always have to look down because I never remember the titles of the champions ever.
I mean, I feel like that's fair. And you didn't even have to say that you didn't remember the title. You could have just said that you were looking down for the release date. No one would expect you to remember that.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah, right. But now we know. So the veil is lifted.
Qiyana.
So that-
Oh, what? I forgot to look at what she sounded like. Does she just sound like an asshole? Because that's what I assumed.
kinda. She sounds a lot like Nico, actually.
She does sound a lot like Nico.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I imagine she sounds like. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is what the quote. Should I not do the top one? That seems like something you'd want to do.
No.
Okay.
I like the bottom one.
I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I'm extremely good at everything. That's what I was hearing.
I mean, that's basically it.
Right?
I mean, it's an interpretation. It's not off, like personality
Mark.
wise. She channels. Okay, so Nico, right? Nico, but she's just not Nico.
Okay.
You may now appreciate me.
Ooh.
I think that's what she says.
Losing is your element.
Oh.
I liked that one because it reminded me a lot of like Kirby and Smash Brothers. You know how like when he sucks someone, he gets their special ability.
When he what someone?
You heard me. You heard what I said.
I did. I sure heard it.
I always thought it was funny to be like, hey, if Kirby ate you, his special would still be to suck. And that's the vibe I got from this "losing is your element" quote here, because she plays with elements.
Sure. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I get you. I get where your head's
Yeah,
at.
I've got another 15 minutes of exclamation, so
He pulls out
All
a chart.
This is, I think, the least amount of notes I've seen you have in a really long time. So
Really? I thought you'd have a lot more.
I think it's just like not a lot of AUs. There's no old lore, no Journal of Justice. You know, it's
I've only got 4 pages.
that's yeah.
I mean, that's still more than I have, but
That's way more than I have. On the Riot Universe page, Qiyana has a bio and 2 short stories that she's in a lot.
she's in the one of them a lot.
She's in the color story a lot.
She's
Yeah.
Yeah.
she's in the story that's actually short a lot. And then she's in the long one about as much as Caitlyn is in Progress
Oh
Day.
my god, right?
Maybe a bit more. What was the other one? Like Darius had one that was kind of like that. She's in
Yeah.
in it more than Darius too. Now that I think about it.
Wow, that's sad because she's not really in it very much.
Yeah, that's true.
As far as her bio goes, I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't. I could take. I didn't take notes. Okay.
I like you thought about saying I couldn't.
I could.
Right.
I
I was incapable.
like, I was
My hands
incapable
were
of like
broken. I can,
of giving a shit. So I like couldn't be fucked when it came to Qiyana. I don't know if any of you guys are Did you guys like Qiyana? I feel bad. I really I just like couldn't be bothered. I mean,
I don't like her personally, but like I thought she was fine as a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked her
hang out
more.
with her.
I mean, I know she's supposed to be unlikable, but there's lots of unlikable characters I enjoy reading about, but no, nothing here.
I liked her more in the short story. The color story I liked. That was
Yes.
fun to spend time with. The bio's kind of whatever. Does that mean that you don't want to do the bio?
I mean, I can give it a whirl. I certainly don't remember the names of anything or anyone except Qiyana.
They don't.
I could try. Qiyana has Qiyana.
Qiyana, everybody.
Qiyana, folks. To Qiyana.
And that's the bio.
And that's the bio. She was some normal little shitty kid in Ixtal, right? I think. Yeah.
Kind of. She's also a princess.
Oh, she's a princess. That's right. Yeah, she is. And she really freaking acts like it. She's the youngest of 7, 9 daughters. I don't know.
10 total,
10?
including her.
10? Okay. She's the youngest of 10 daughters. So she's 10th in line. Yeah, right. She's 10th in line to lead her people. I don't remember what they're called. Yuntal? Something like that?
Ixtal overall, right?
Oh, okay. Damn. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they rule all of Ixtal.
Sure. Her family all trains in the elements, and she starts training in the elements, and she's really, really good at it immediately. And her oldest sister, is it?
Yeah.
Is real tired of her shitty attitude too. So she's like, I challenge you to a duel, sister. I'm going to put you in your place. Or Qiyana challenged her. I don't know. One or the other. And then Qiyana beat her real good. And
Beat that ass.
Nope, that means something else, Mark. Qiyana won that fight real good, and now her sister can no longer walk, and everyone hates Qiyana. She thought she was going to be promised. Her parents were like, yeah, we'll make you queen if you win or something.
I don't know if her parents
Her
even
parents
knew about
didn't.
this
No,
shit.
I don't think her parents knew.
And it was kind of an oversight to not check with them first to make sure that this challenge was...
Her sister was kind of like, yeah, you'll be queen if you win. And then she did win. And her parents are like, no, we're obviously not making you the queen. You're an idiot. And you just paralyze your sister.
Right? Have you even read our Constitution, Qiyana? Please.
So, yeah, she got salty. I don't know what happened after that. I'm going to be right.
Well, okay. I'll pick it up. We'll
Thanks.
Okay.
Did I do good, though? Well,
You did so good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I have a
This is
sticker?
just the alley-oop at the end of it all. So I guess the big thing is that not everybody hates Qiyana, because a lot of people are actually like winners, I guess is kind of the idea. So she showcases her mastery, and everyone in this big city, which is like the capital city called Ixtal, there's a lot of people who are on board the Qiyana train. Woo woo!
Yeah.
You know?
I guess to be fair, there's a lot of like outsiders coming in, and they're very afraid, and like fights are happening, and Qiyana could actually defend them and wants to.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, so that's kind of the other second half of the bio, is that she comes out and is like, hey, I want to go fight off these outsiders, right? And the parents are like, no, it's just going to cause more problems. But she does it anyway, and it seems like she was really good at what she did, but it also did indeed cause a lot more to come, and they came more armed, right? So she was going to get arrested, essentially, and then some members of, like, the court, I don't know, like, there's some nobles who are kind of on her side, who kind of came to her defense and was like, no, she's actually really good, and as long as she promises to be a good Qiyana, and not, like, she literally just has to swear fealty to the elders, and, I don't know, not fuck with the outsiders, she can go, like, she gets off, essentially. So she gets off scot-free, but is still full of ambition, and is probably gonna work to lead a coup or some bullshit.
Right? It was a very weird decision, because, like, I'm surprised her parents were cool keeping her out of jail, because the elders were like, oh, she's talented and can help protect Ixtal, because, like, yeah, they fucking knew that already. Like, they were imprisoning her for that exact reason, because her version of protecting Ixtal was killing everyone that came near it. And I kind of don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, I think that's like a big issue with the bio, is there's a lot of vagaries. Like, her parents don't get names, but they're major players in all this shit for example. So that would be the thing where it's like, if you were going to flesh it out, you would say like, oh, she had enough kind of political like support that maybe it would have been like an unwise move to like just continue on with it, right? Like it could have caused problems for them. So it was more politically expedient to be like, okay, we're not going to put you in jail, Qiyana, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like they had to kind of make a deal. That's what I assume is kind of implied, but it's really, it's really paved over. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing about like with her sister, right? Where it's like, why did you think with this duel you'd get to be the first in line to be the Empress? Like, was that established? Did you write it down? Or did you spit in your hands and like shake on it? Like, what was the...
Yeah. You also have like 8 other sisters who probably are not going to honor that or follow you at all.
Yeah.
There'll be no problem. She has a plan for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. To your point too, Mark, I as I think about it too, like we find out in her long short story a lot more about the kind of what's holding Ixtal together, like the big lie, essentially. And if it was like the Yantal that were like, hey, you should keep Qiyana out of jail, like I mean the royal family has a lot to lose if the Yantal ever decide that they're gonna go tell people the big lie. So I mean they do probably have a lot of leverage.
Yeah, right. Like, okay, so I guess listener, Yuntal, like this is the first time we've ever really come to Ixtal. The Yuntal are kind of like a mix between philosophers and priests and like mage lords who are like the upper echelon caste of the society, right? Like just above them is the actual like rulers. So they're pretty high up in power, and we'll get into like more what John's talking about in the next short or the long short story, right? Yeah, I guess I would also say is that the Yuntal have a lot to lose themselves, so it's like there's a lot you could do here. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of like kind of Game of Thronesy type like chicanery and scheming that could really go on with this, but they don't really have enough. They don't spend enough time getting into like the fineries of Ixtalian politics.
Right.
Is the issue with it, I would say.
Largely in the bio too from Qiyana, like I basically just got huge Killmonger vibes.
Yeah.
That was what she was giving off.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we've got a lot of cool shit here. And I mean, I feel like a lot of her thing is like not even wanting to stay in Ixtal, right? Like she's cool leaving and expanding the influence of Ixtal into other areas.
That's true. I would say like I don't even know if it's necessarily the same because at least with Killmonger, I've only seen that movie once. It's been a while. There was an idealistic drive that drove his actions, right? With her, it is solely about herself, right? She wants to fight outsiders, but it's only in service to like herself and personal gain and shit. Like she doesn't really seem to have that ideological core. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She
doesn't have that like moral high ground.
So she's like an evil Killmonger.
Sure, Killmonger was the villain in it, but we all know that he was the hero of that story.
we got it, you know. I think a problem I'm having here. I mean, you said, Mark, this is our first time really at Ixtal. We're on the queues. And this is our first time really here. And I really don't have an attachment to Ixtal still. And this didn't help develop one at all. I'm hoping maybe.
It did a much better, not the bio. I will say the Axiomata story that we're going to get into, I think that was a really good Ixtal piece.
I'll have to give it a really, like an actual read. Well, I read it, but I was like, that story, it's very long. Qiyana's barely in it. It feels very much like when you're starting an epic fantasy novel series and like you're getting all these names and places thrown at you and you're like, I need like a thesaurus, like not a thesaurus. I need like a table of contents on this or like a who's in this, like a little.
I think like, and I think all of the names and everything basically is just, you can ignore all of it. Like this story to me was just to give an idea of like, this is what Ixtal is like in the same way that Progress Day isn't necessarily a story about, like, obviously it follows a particular person, but really that story is about, like, this is what Piltover's
And
like,
you know
y'all.
what? I didn't like Progress Day, and I for like a lot of the same reasons. Where I wanna experience a place through people, and I didn't really get that in either story. But I mean, I think it's just not for me. It's not that it's bad in any way. Like Progress Day is definitely not a bad story.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, like, I think you've got to really, like, this was, like, I liked this long story, and I know we're talking about around it a bunch, but I kind of agree with your sentiment that, like, I think it's an actual problem with the writing, is that it loses me in the same way of, like, it's trying to, like, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about it when we get to it, because, like, I completely share that complaint. I liked it in spite of a lot of what it does, with trying to introduce, like, especially the magic system, I guess, that Ixtal kind of runs on. It's just like, I think they failed.
I have no
at
fucking
doing it.
idea. I felt as confused as I am when Qiyana kills me in game, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? So maybe in that way, it's really well done.
It seems like something
I
that...
see.
I don't know how Qiyana works in the game or in the stories.
It seemed like if they were to make, like, a video of, like, you know, that kind of scene in the Axiomata, it seemed like it would be like a cool visual that would probably make it a lot clearer what was going on. But yeah, like the description that you get in a lot of it is, I guess, rose some questions.
Yeah.
The magic for me worked like a lot of the descriptions you see in, like, the Golden Compass type thing. Like, I feel like this could be cool, but the description, I'm not pulling up anything when I try to imagine what they're describing. I need someone to show this to me.
Yeah, gosh, I almost want to put, like, a pin in it and come back to this, because, like, I had a lot of feelings about that story and about this particular, like, issue with it.
Sure, we can talk about the color story first.
Yeah, that's a lot simpler.
Because that's more straightforward. Yeah, for sure. It's called Fit to Rule.
Yeah,
also by John O'Brien. The bio is also by John O'Brien.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he seems to have done the Qiyana writing. Yeah, so it's Qiyana. She's traveling through the jungle with her servant Bayal. She's kind of elementally clearing a path and then covering it back up behind her through the jungle. So there's only this little spot of cleared jungle as she's walking through, but she comes to this village called Tikris. That's the name. She kind of greets the elders and kind of talks about, like, oh, your prefect recently died, and there's these Piltovan machines, like ruins of them, and it seems like the prefect was killed when Piltovans, who are the outsiders who've been showing up, showed up. And she's like, you need someone who can protect you. The new governor should be me. And they're like, well, no offense, but we already have someone like you. And her sister, one of her sisters, is there, named Mara, and they kind of have a tense little interaction. Qiyana tries to intimidate Mara into abdicating, and it's kind of clear that Qiyana is very powerful and genuinely does kind of scare Mara, or has, like, the power in that relationship. But Mara holds firm, and the elders kind of support her, and is like, as long as she is fit to rule, she's going to be the governor. So Qiyana is like, fine, and she leaves, but she purposefully does not recover the path when she leaves. So the very next day, there's Qiyana, and then in comes Mara, sobbing because the Piltovans showed back up and attacked and killed half the fucking village, and everyone else is in hiding. And, Qiyana is internally, like, giddy, and she's like, oh, this worked out fucking perfectly. But externally, she kind of feigns, like, oh, that's so sad, Oh, no.
You see now why I wanted to be there to protect you, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yes. Oh, my God, you're right.
But yeah, I mean, that's the end of it. She kind of, and then she's like, gets Mara to think it's her idea to, like, let Qiyana be the protector. And that's
This gives you such a good look on not just what Qiyana's like in her manipulation and arrogance, and the way that I don't think she's going to ever learn really from her. She's not like an arrogant student who's going to learn from a tragedy. Absolutely not.
Right, no.
She's intentionally causing tragedies for her own gain.
Mm-hmm.
And Mara wasn't a good person either. Like when she's she's like being fed grapes while people are using their magic to fan her.
Yes.
While she's like, oh yes, I'm protecting the people, clearly, and she's not, and she doesn't care. This is just a title to her. And then it was obviously very serious, but yeah. So this whole family sucks.
Yeah.
They're not great.
And
I like it.
Yeah. I do too. I like the idea that this royal family is awful, and for the first time, their land's kind of in danger, really, and they're just power struggling with each other rather than trying to protect their people. And I think that at the core is very interesting, and I just haven't gotten any more of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like there's a lot you could do in Ixtal, and it's just like it gets no attention. And it's
very
hard.
New, I guess.
It's new. Well, 2019.
Right, it's not new, right, anymore? Is it still new?
In a
I guess
cosmic
compared to the
timeline.
Freljord.
Right.
Compared to the first breath of creation. No,
I think maybe actually, like, while not super new, I mean, at least in terms of being defined in lore, I think the Qiyana release was the opportunity they took to, like, actually flesh it out. Because,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned this being the first champion from Ixtal, but, like, Nico's from Ixtal,
Yeah.
technically, even though she's got a different home. Like, Nidalee's from Ixtal.
Yeah.
We have cover champions from there. It's just that, like, they're from the random ass jungle, and like there's a whole civilization here that we just haven't touched on. And I think Qiyana was kind of that release that made them flesh that out, other than Malphite, I guess, which I'm curious if that rewrite was around the same time.
it's a good question. I mean, that's a really good point. I had that in my notes because I think that's another big issue with how they handle it. Because we're gonna see that theme continued when we get to like Rengar and Zyra. It's just where you put champions, you don't know where to put them, and they just go into the jungle. Off you go.
It's the new Kamunga jungle.
Yeah,
It's like
yes.
It's like that's where they used to throw everyone, and they were like, "Oh, we can't do that. Everyone needs to have an actual place."
What's Kamunga Jungle?
It's like an old lore jungle where they would put everyone who they didn't know where to put, and they were like, "Oh, we need people to have actual homes." But then they just pushed all the Kamunga jungle people to fucking Ixtal.
We'll just take Kamunga Jungle and move it over there.
Got a different name. Bam, Dunzo.
Fuck, you're right. God damn.
That's what's really upsetting. Obviously, Zyra's not going to be like our last episode or anything, and other champions are going to be released. But hitting Zyra is going to be like a really huge thing for us, and it's going to be what is it?
Well,
And she's my main too. I'm so excited to talk about Zyra. There's nothing to fucking say though.
Going out with a fizzle and a pop.
it's almost appropriate. Like, well, she's got a bio and a short story.
That's true. And then we'll just troll around.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think on top of all that bullshit, it's also like Ixtal is super isolationist. So they don't interact with other places anyway. So it's like great. On top of everything else, like just keep them as sequestered away from doing anything in the world as possible, right?
Right.
It's a lot of issues.
Speaking of Ixtal being separated and sequestered from everybody,
Is it Ixtal? I always say Ixtal. I always say the X.
I feel like it's probably Ixtal.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just based on like how their town name is pronounced too, with like the Ixtal Khan.
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
Which thank you so much, Riot, for giving Qiyana a quote that pronounces that name.
Oh, yeah, because I was not saying that properly.
I thought it was going to be like more like a sound, kind of like Oaxaca. So that's how I was pronouncing it. It started turning very German, like ich, when I was saying it out loud. But,
Mark, what did you read out loud? Sarah sent me a photo that you had put the baby and the dog to sleep with.
I think I read pretty much all of it. Not all of the long story. I got about 3/4 of the way, maybe even half of the way through, and then she
That's
fell
still a
asleep.
lot.
And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna stop reading this out loud, so Sarah doesn't have to hear it."
I'm like, I wonder how he's doing with all these names and everything right now, reading this out loud.
I was getting really flimmy. I was like, Ixtal and Ixtal. So it being ish is a lot better, frankly.
Oh man.
Yeah, but so they have. I mean, they have kind of a lot in common with Wakanda in that way. which I was already thinking coming out of the bio. And then
Yeah,
it mentions
same.
that when she got to the village, the
Yeah.
three village elders greeted her with a respectful Ixtali salute, arms held tightly across their chests.
It's literally the Wakanda forever. I thought of it a few times, and I'm like, is there another way you could do this that it's not the spilling wine all over my hand Wakanda forever salute? No, it's that
There's
one.
very few
Like you're
ways
hugging
to
yourself,
make that-
like
right? Just really cold. Brr, this jungle is chilly.
Maybe they do this.
The bee
hell yeah, I love that. That's
my new
intimidating.
canon. That's my new canon for that one. That's how they salute.
That's
I
fucking dope.
Cannot wait for that
That's
cinematic.
fly.
Now I need a group of people in Ixtal who do like a Charlie's Angels.
Shit.
Now this story, I think, is the first place that we get the name for her weapon too, which
Yeah.
Already
is
forgot it.
the Omlotl,
Old bottle.
which
Yeah.
first of all, not a real weapon.
Let's,
Big circle
What, you mean
that
people
floats
weren't-
around with her magic isn't a real weapon.
Though it resembles a massive chakram, which is a real weapon. Tira from Soul Calibur uses the exact same weapon.
yeah.
And so does, although hers in Soul Calibur is called a Eizerna Twazul, which is German for iron thrush, and I'm sure I murdered that pronunciation. So,
I thought it sounded great, but I'm also not German.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Wait, you're not?
But yeah, I liked it. I think, to be fair, trying to take over a province from your sister who legitimately can't protect it, totally fair. Fair play there. Leading invaders to it to ensure it gets destroyed so that you can be prefect, it's kind of fucked up. And I feel like I feel like it also doesn't get you a whole lot, because now you've just got a destroyed province. It gets you the word of mouth if you once you go to that province and like kill all the Piltovans and all that, and people are like, yeah, fucking Qiyana, which I know is her like ultimate goal. I don't think she gives a shit about governance.
I mean, I think it was also
Yeah.
because she was pissed that her sister turned her away. She wanted her sister to look like an idiot.
It's true. I mean, she does it like when she's comforting her sister, she's just internally like, oh, I just can't wait to kill all those fucking Piltovans. She's like
Right.
burbling with joy at the thought of it. I like it. It has, like I said, I get Game of Thrones kind of vibes, very Littlefinger type vibes. Like I'm liking all that, and I'm into all that shit. So I liked this, and I also liked that
Little
she's-
ringer.
Yeah, I like that she's got like they both have like these servants who just go around doing elemental magic just to like mist them as they're walking through the jungle so they don't get hot and sweaty. It's like I like that. That's a nice, really
I like
like
that a lot.
prickish detail to give them. You know what I mean?
It's like, do you remember in Rogue One? This is I
No.
don't know this, but like there's a point where Vader is like walking somewhere like into like an area where there's no gravity,
And they were all
basically.
missing him because he was.
No, but his cape
He doesn't want to
was
wipe it off his
billowing.
mask. Oh, never mind.
He walked in space and his cape was billowing, and someone pointed out like his cape wouldn't be billowing in there. Like there's no wind. Like he's literally using the force to billow his own cape. Just
Yo, he picked up the
Why
cape
else?
of billowing. Is 50 gold, easy peasy.
It's just if you're wearing a cape and it's not billowing, you look like a fucking idiot.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That shit gets sucked into plane engines. You know, you never fucking know, right? Want to dip
So I was
into
reading
the...
this as axiomata, by the way. Not how are you saying it?
I said Mata, but it's probably Mata. That
Oh,
sounds more classy.
axiomata.
Do you think...
Axiomata.
So I had this thought like halfway through. Do you think it's Ashiomata? Because that's how they pronounce Ixtal?
Axiomata.
Maybe.
I think like
Axiomata.
at least how we would say it would be axiomata, right? Because like an axiom, of, like
Yeah.
that, right? But they say
I think
they're
axiomata. It might even be like a C sound. I'm thinking because it reminds me of the name Xiomara, which is with a Z. I don't know.
Is this where the axiom arc came from?
I think so. That's all I can think
Also
about.
an omlotl shape.
It's literally all I could think about was this. I thought it was axiomark.
I like that, actually.
I was wanting to read that as Axiom Mark the whole time.
Axiom mark a question. You'll get an answer.
Heyo. So first of all, before we get into the actual like outline of this story, I just want to point out real quick that this one is from Daniel Kautz, who I don't know if we've read a story by him before, but Daniel Kautz, I was on his interview panel. I was one of the people who hired him into player support. He wrote a lot of the player support articles on the Riot support site. If you've, if you've ever had to check out knowledge base articles there, he wrote a lot of those. And it was very cool to see his name here.
So John's not allowed to say anything bad about this story. He's going to feel terrible.
It was a masterpiece, Daniel. You've done it.
I also loved it a lot.
I liked a lot of it. I just have like one big glaring issue with it. But we'll get into it, I suppose. That is very cool, though. That's honestly fucking neato, and good on him for getting into that spot, honestly. Right?
Yeah.
I've never been paid to write, so don't listen to me, Daniel. No one wants to buy my book.
I'd buy your book. But can I get a copy as like a friend? Like, come on, can I at least get a book?
If you wanted to read it, you could read it.
It's a very good book.
Anyway.
Yeah, so it's following an Ixtali named Allier.
Yep, this was me the entire fucking story. I was like trying to...
There's a lot of question marks on the end of like what things are named and who people are named. And
I feel like immediately when I read the name, though, and like a little bit into the story, because they had like this fascination with the old world and everything. It sounded like the character itself was just like Aloy, and it looked so much like Aloy that I then just started calling them Aloy in my head anytime their name came up from Horizon Zero Dawn. For you at home,
I was like, who? I know that name sounds familiar, but I think Allier is what I was saying or thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I guess for the listener, it's Aliay. So do with that what you will. And they, I don't quite remember. They're an apprentice mage, kind of. We find them working in a river, and what they're doing is they're using their magic to kind of clear out the river, and they're looking for remnants from ruins of the old world. And eventually their mentor, Mivasim, who's... we'll go with that, is one of the Ixtal, arrives and kind of undoes their magic, I'm going to say Aya, because they start getting called Aya later in the story, so let's go with Aya. Undoes Aya's magic, and they kind of force them to figure out. It's not like a challenge or anything. It's like a test, and they have to figure out how to kind of get their way through it. And so Mivasim tells Aya that it's time. They're going to go to Ixtal, and they're going to face the Vidalian, whatever that is, and see if Aya can join the Ixtal.
See, this is where Mark. This is where I was like, "Who are these people? What are they doing? What are they fighting? Where are they? I don't care."
And there's like tons of references already by this point to things like the axiom and the axiomatics, and just I completely sympathize.
I can't jump into stories like this where like I need to care about someone. Like you got to give me the save the cat moment, so I have a reason.
I do like. I think Aya is actually. I like Aya's character here, and I think this is a good piece. And I would be interested to see Aya in more stories. But it's still a lot, and it makes me think of like other heavier fantasy novels that I've read relatively recently, where they had complex magic systems, but they're introduced in pretty relatively well done ways, like Name of the Wind or like Six of Crows, things that like I had no context for what was going on in those stories, but with how they started the story, I could kind of. I was eased into it. Yeah, follow along.
Yeah, this is a magic system for a much longer story than this is. Mm-hmm. We need a lot more time to make sense of exactly what's going on here and get introduced to it in much more bite-sized pieces.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's my big complaint with the whole thing. Anyway, so they're traveling along, and this is where we kind of learned about Ixtal's whole perspective on the world, like the average Ixtalis. And what it is that the rest of the world was rendered barren and poisoned, and Ixtal is the only place that has survived in the wake of some great war, like probably the Rune War or some shit. And part of that conversation, Miv and Aya are kind of discuss why things from the outside are feared, and how like people retreat to an emotional place, and like they can't contextualize things to deal with the actual problem, which will become important later. They get to Ixtal Khan. They run into another Ixtal, this guy called Chilgaslan. Chug.
I feel like I'm at Ren Fair with you because the point. Huzzah!
You gotta. It's the only way you can get through them because it's like halfway through you stop and want to correct yourself, but you just gotta fucking throw it across the finish line.
Like
Big chigs. I don't know what to call him. He's a Ixtal and he has a lot of students, and he's kind of gregarious, but he's also kind of like a douche. And one of his students accidentally sets fire to a merchant's tent, and we kind of see that merchant is, despite the fact that his shit just got set on fire, is actually apologetic to the Ixtal who were amongst him. And Chig doesn't seem to give a shit. He's just happy that his student was able to set the fire so quickly and that the fire did its work. But they go on to do whatever trial they're going to do, and that student and many others fail. Aya goes in, and he steps in, and there's this, or whoever, they steps in, and there's this massive gallery of Ixtal who are all watching, and the Vidalion. We see what it is, and it is like described as a great loom with ceaselessly spinning threads, and I still can't quite picture it, but there is a picture on the universe page to help, I suppose.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I would say check that out. Anyway, Aya starts whatever kind of trial this is. They say you'll have to defend yourself from the Vidalion. And so Aya taps into the magic, starts doing some sort of magic or whatever. It's really not clear. But as they're doing this, they kind of feel, they've been referring to the axiomata, and the best way I can kind of describe them are like ley lines. They're like these sort of magical like energy lines that course all over Runeterra, and they feel pulled. And their vision is kind of racing out to the edge of Ixtal and then beyond. And where they expected to see, like a barren fucking wasteland, there's a living world and there's people. And it takes their vision like races all the way out to Freljord. And that's when they kind of realize this is the test. The test is that you have been shown that Ixtal is not this one little spot of life on the world. It's like a drop in an ocean. And Runeterra is alive and there's people all over it. And what are you going to do with that fucking information? And Aya has to grapple with all of these emotions, and kind of, like I said, they're like scholars. It's very like, okay, yeah, you have this emotional reaction, but like you've been reinforced to like take the almost like Vulcan, what's the logical way of dealing with this? And Aya kind of tamps away all of the anger and like shame and all the crap that he feels or they feel, and is like, I understand why this has happened. And then through it all ends up passing the test and accepts the truth of the world and is now a Ixtal, but makes there's a very distinct point that like all that anger is still there, and they kind of lock it away inside them, and it's still there. Anyway, they get into it's post trial, whatever you call this. They're at the celebration, and that's where Qiyana shows up, and Qiyana runs into Aya, and Qiyana talks about how when she passed her test, she saw that there were things that were very powerful, and it would really make sense to have the wise hand of Ixtal guiding those things. And Aya can kind of recognize that, this person is also someone who doesn't accept all this and is an enemy of the status quo. That's kind of the big moniker. So it's a year later. Aya is among the Ixtal. He's watching other aspirants come in to endure this trial, and is kind of quietly like glances over at Qiyana and just kind of reflects on like, we are working toward the same end. And our shared goal of breaking this and changing things and having this no longer be the status quo. And that's kind of where it ends on Aya.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It gives me kind of just in the like Giver vibes a little bit.
Yes.
Remember the Giver?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. That was absolutely what came to my mind. That 1984.
Yeah.
The Village, if you're
The Village. Yeah. No, that one gets I kind of like The Village.
It's an interesting idea. I don't know if the movie works in execution, but the ideas are cool.
It does have Village vibes to it.
It does. I was also just thinking of, I had to look it up because I forgot what it was called. It's called The Deep by Rivers Solomon, but that's like a mermaid novella, and in that one there's always like one mermaid who is chosen to kind of bear the painful history of their people, and that kind of gives me those vibes too.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I got big vibe, especially when they started talking about how like the Ixtal were like all philosopher people, like the whole thing about why they're keeping everything a secret too is it, and you can create any philosophy students out there who've studied this in more detail, correct me if I'm wrong. But
John, what, your philosophy 101 class didn't make you a pro? Sorry.
I know. But this sounds like Plato's Cave. I feel like this is just Plato's Cave.
Which is anyone who has ever been to college, that's the one philosophy thing we all learned. I think that's the only philosophical thing I know is Plato's Cave.
I had one roommate who actually studied philosophy, and I know his biggest complaint was how everyone oversimplified Plato's Cave.
Oh.
And all I know is that my understanding of Plato's Cave was the one that upset him. So I know there's more to it, but I'm going to ignore all that because
we're too dumb for...
He tried explaining it to me, and I was like, this all sounds like bullshit. Let me get back to my music. Something useful.
That's philosophy, baby.
Show me some more shadows. Cut your bullshit. But yeah, I think that's a really good thing to kind of bring into the conversation with this whole thing, you know, because I have to imagine that was at the forefront of I forgot the name. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't interview them.
Daniel's
mind when writing this. But I did really like it. It gave, like I said, it's a cool kind of creeping, almost dystopian type kind of horror that kind of sinks in the second half, and it's way more interesting to me than just a run-of-the-mill xenophobic isolationist city-state. Like, that is kind of boring in my mind. This is kind of fucking interesting. I'm into this.
Yeah, I think I needed the second half to be the first half. That makes sense. I just struggled to get into it or to experience this through the eyes of people that we I don't know, either are already familiar with or were able to grow familiar with in a better way, if that makes sense. I don't know. Yeah. I do just struggle to get into story. I think this is why I'm going to say right now, I don't really like short stories. So this is always tough, like when we're having to read them. And my problem with short stories is I don't get connected to people, and I'm not smart enough to dive into your deep philosophical ideas about life in like your 3-page short story. It's just not going to happen. So I think most of the time I like the ones we have to read because they're about characters I'm already familiar with.
Yeah.
But in this case, I'm not, and I need like a full-length novel to appreciate what's going on.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's like we've been saying a lot, is that I think it's really bogged down by introducing, mentioning things that we don't know what they are, talking about this axiom. Like, there's this whole little sequence where after Aya has started the trial, and like the y'all, see, I'm even forgetting the fucking, we've said that the philosophers,
Yuntal,
thank you. They're commenting on the magic that Aya is weaving. They're like, oh, if you do this, the pressure and temperature won't work right. And Aya is kind of responding. And it's like a page, and it's like, I don't know what the fuck y'all are talking about. It's like, you need to not be like, I don't know what an axiomata is. I don't know what the fifth axiomatic means. Can you just
I'm not ready to dive into the specifics.
Yeah, dial it back a lot more.
Can you first give me the definition of axiomata?
It would genuinely help, right? It's like, I think it took so far into it to understand, okay, an axiomata is like I said, like a ley line, and there's these nodes of power, and that's where Ixtal Khan is. Okay, it's I get that now. It's but man, I was not like you said, I was not invested in a lot of that stuff in the start of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame because the Aya character I ended up really liking at the end of it all, because I like the start where they're very the wool is over their eyes, right? And they're picking up this they find this axe in the river, and it's this must have been millennia ago. It's amazing how they have such craftsmanship that it looks so shiny and new. And then afterwards, after they've gone through that whole ordeal, Aya's looking back on themselves, and they feel anger at themselves, and I felt this feeling of vengeance. You're so fucking stupid. Or they talk about how they're thinking about how their mother reacted when they got into the Yuntal, and it's I wanted to cry for her because she doesn't know, I liked that part a lot, but it is really bogged down, and that's my big complaint with it.
Yeah, and I think it raised a lot of questions for, like I mentioned, the champions that we have talked about, like Nico and Nidalee, who did not originate from Ixtal but ended up in Ixtal. Did they not talk to anyone while they were there?
Well,
Nico seems very sociable.
Well, last we saw, she was fucking around with a Noxian garrison, so she's just out of there entirely, right? That's the way you handle that. They're just gone. Don't worry about it. Yeah. That would be something to explore if you want to do something with one of those champions, like maybe Nidalee, somebody who doesn't have a lot going on. If she runs into an Ixtali, and it's like, what happens when you're talking to someone? It reminds me of like Brand, where like, so if you remember way back in Brand, Rise was trying to tell him about Shurima and the concept of like, hey, there's a place that doesn't have snow at all and it's sand. And it's like, how do you even explain that to someone? And that exact same experience with like an Ixtali. How do you tell them that, hey man, there's like a fucking ocean and shit out there? They don't even know what that is. You know what I mean?
God, try to tell them about Viego. They wouldn't give a shit.
There's this guy,
I have my servants cause mist on me.
They're so lucky.
Mist is no problem.
They don't know about Viego.
They don't know about Rise of the Sentinels.
Sentinels.
Okay, put me in the cave. Put me in the fucking cave right now.
I've changed my mind. I want to be in the cave.
I am Cypher from the Matrix. Just plug me in. Just make me forget. I don't want to remember a thing. Okay.
All right. Now that we complained about Rise of the Sentinels,
gotta get one in, right?
Gotta get one in.
But yeah, I think there was. You know what else I like is like I know Qiyana is not in there for much, but I would be interested to see another story written about their relationship because it was interesting to me how Aya seems like has a real like ideological slant, whereas Qiyana absolutely doesn't, which is what we talked about. And I like that they are working kind of towards a similar goal for very different means. And I would like to see that. Yes. Yeah, what comes of that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting pairing there.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good to unravel. I don't think Qiyana is going to have like a massive redemption arc or something, but I think seeing her mistakes through the eyes of someone she respects is maybe the only way she's going to see where she's wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't even know if she respects Aya. I think she might just recognize
but maybe
a tool.
I think she could maybe one day
maybe
respect someone other than herself. I don't know. Not that I want her to have a redemption arc. I think Qiyana works as is. But if you wanted her to see, like, here's where I'm occasionally futzing up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for sure, like, I know during the champion development, like the specific goal for Qiyana was to develop a cute champion who was also definitively like a villain.
Yes,
that was like their
yeah.
I think... So I also doubt she's gonna.
No. I wouldn't want her to have one. I think I think she should be a villain. But even villains can sometimes see how they're villainous, if that makes sense. But,
sure.
Yeah.
Would it be fun if she saw that and then was like, just dismissed it out of hand?
Yeah, I think that's what she would do. You'd be like, "Oh, too bad, so sad."
You know? You should be better at dealing with elements.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sucks
exactly.
to suck. Such a. If she doesn't say that, Riot, get that voice actress back. Because she's gotta. That's perfect. Well, that's canon Qiyana mostly. I think.
Do we have
any other thoughts on it? It feels like it's in the beginnings here. I like the idea of Qiyana a lot. And I'd like to see more potential. We'll say potential. It's been a while since we've thrown out that word, right?
Yeah.
Good potential here.
I think ultimately villains work very well when they are not super strictly confined to one specific area. So I'd love to see what happens when she does finally decide, like, hey, the time is now, which for the record, I doubt we'll see, but
no,
you know,
but it would be.
It's nice to get I'd like to get the setup to it, even if they don't.
Yeah, if Qiyana left Ixtal, however you say it, she would maybe finally meet some other champions who, would be just as powerful or more powerful than she is. She's used to being the big cheese.
Yeah.
Do people still say that?
The big.
It's classic. Some Toontown speak right there. That's how you know it's good.
Shut up.
Oh my God! Shut up. Yeah. No, I completely agree. Right? She's in a good spot too with Ixtal because they're right up against Shurima, and there's another emperor who's kicking around who's also a villain, even though they don't know it. Right?
Right. Has any knowledge that he's a villain, but we know.
Maybe interactions with Qiyana would help Azir reflect on how he has failed.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
If they want Azir to not be a villain, then make him not a villain, and that could be one of the ways. But
I mean, they'll have to change some things. Don't get me wrong. You're gonna have to retcon some bullshit for Azir.
Yeah.
But that might be something to do. with him. I don't know.
Now, Qiyana's also part of one cinematic, which is just her champion teaser, called Empress of the Elements, where we just get to see her do some her elemental thing.
Oh, is it easier to follow than the stories or when she's in game?
Yeah, she's just like pulling up elements from the ground and is like, I'm element lady.
Great. I'll say, like, reading her bio and stuff and like watching her in game, I would have had no idea that she was like an elemental, character. It's all very subtle in game.
It's very subtle. Like, if you're reading her abilities,
which if you don't play her,
I'm siphoning abilities from like the grass and the water and rock, but like, playing against her, like all you see is like a tiny particle.
Yeah. It's blue.
Leeching from something. And then she turns invisible or some shit. What the fuck?
Yeah, right. I would really love like a clearer visual about what the fuck Qiyana's doing before I die. I'm going to die anyway, but at least I'll know what happened.
I had genuine complaints because I don't like her visual design, really, I will say. Like, I think she, like, before I knew anything about her, I always thought she looked like a mobile game champion. Like, I could see her, like, being on a banner ad that said, don't let you, like, play now, my lord, or some shit like that.
What an insult. I never heard that insult before, and that is so cutting. You look like a mobile game champion.
It really says something. But to your, like, exactly, right? You know what makes me think of it, too, is that when you go and look on the universe page about Ixtal, they have concept art about, like, this is what Ixtali people who use elements look like, and they've got, like, there's a fisher who's got like water around his head, or like there's someone who works with fire, and they're kind of almost like Orin, where they got like fire that's spewing out of like a smoke out of their mouth, or like rock arms for what they do with their rocks. I don't know. But her, it's like, who the fuck knows?
Like she got
she's some lady. She's just some lady. She got blue on a hoop.
Some lady with blue on a hoop. Today we're talking about some lady with blue on a hoop, Qiyana.
It's my blue on a hoop.
Tell me I'm wrong, man. Come on.
Am I wrong? Yeah, I don't. We talk a little bit sometimes about who fits in game, like who looks like, they're in game, like their lore, and this does not match up for me at all. Yep. Like Talia, she's a rock lady. You see it. Like, it's very clear.
She got rocks in her
cloaks are
fucking
made
cape.
of rocks.
Yes.
Yeah. I know what's happening. She's clearly throwing rocks at my face, and I see that before I die, and I go, oh, she threw rocks at me, and that's how I died. I get it. But Qiyana, it's just like, and then I don't know what happens.
I can only imagine they got really hung up on the umlautl. And they were like, well, we got to have this. And it's like, well, there's just not enough like visual space to do other things with her. Even there's a picture on Universe of her with some of her sisters. And I think that picture is better in terms of
I don't think I've seen that.
It's not like amazing. Like it's still the core same visual design. But what I would say also is that like there's another concept art picture on Universe of the Ixtal. And the way they draw their clothes there is really fucking cool. It's like this weird, like, it's kind of like rainbow as if on like a black background. And it's like got this kind of iridescence that kind of shimmers off of it. It's a really, and like, I think it's a really cool, like, visual space for Ixtal and Ixtali champions to occupy. But Qiyana doesn't, like, embody any of it. So I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'm sorry, but I just don't like it.
Better visual clarity, please.
Yeah, that too, right? And I know concept art, like, obviously in game things have to be simpler. You can't have like old ass league champions where there's a million particles and textures and it's just a mess. But like, there's got to be a middle ground, right?
I would like to know that she's like pulling things from water and land, and what's the other one?
Earth, fire, heart.
Rock and are different. Oh, I know that there's
Grass.
two that are the same, but Riot said they're different. Yeah, grass and rock, I guess.
Yeah, different things.
It's
totally
plants, I guess. Plants, rock, and water. Whatever. Yeah, I just would like to see that in game, like to know. Because if you don't play Qiyana, I feel like that's just not something you know about at all with her. But
Yeah.
unless you're
for
good
sure.
at the game and you've looked up the champions and what they do.
Well, who has who has time to know what the champions
I have a
fucking
baby now, everybody.
do? You're typing that in all chat. I have a fucking baby.
A fucking baby now for 4 whole
You
months.
feel good about that kill? I've got a
My
baby.
baby's crying. Right.
I'm a mother. Anyway, what you got for us, John?
Well, I got some quotes here. from her.
Ooh, cool.
We were talking about how, she's the youngest and she's got 9 sisters. She's got some quotes where she makes her intentions very clear about those sisters. 1 throne, 9 sisters, 9 tragic accidents waiting to happen.
So John's the youngest of 11, and I wonder if he's connected to Qiyana at all here.
What am I going to inherit?
I just...
Hold on.
Jesus, your parents have a home?
If you could, so are you saying if you did stand to inherit something of
You would
significant
slaughter
value?
your siblings.
I mean, I'm just saying that I haven't had the time to properly think about it because I know that that's not at the, there's no pot of gold at the end of that rainbow.
Mark, I gotta show you this wine I got.
Okay.
I bought it just because it's called Le Fat Bastard, and I thought that was really funny.
I
And
love
there's a
it.
hippo on it. And
Is it
she
good?
looks a lot like me, and I love her.
So wait, are you the fat bastard?
Yeah, that's why I got it.
Hell yeah.
You
Is
didn't
it
make
good?
that clear to me when you bought.
I just
assumed it was a Happy Austin Powers reference, and that's all.
Is it really? I don't know.
It's just Michael Myers. It just
Well, I know Fat Bastard is... this is not an Austin Powers wine, John. I didn't go out and get Austin Powers wine
I don't know. You were getting ready for your Austin Power Hour.
that I notoriously have every day. Okay, anyway. More quotes.
Next quote. I cannot wait to be Empress. If only my entire family were not in the way. Which it makes me think I really want to do. I just can't wait to be King parody.
Oh,
for
you
Qiyana.
have
Ooh,
to.
I like that a
I know we
lot.
could make that work.
Yeah.
Also, she has a quote that says, "I hate it when they dare look me in the eye," which had some real Ellen energy.
John. But yeah.
I'm not familiar with Ellen drama.
Oh yeah.
Ellen drama. You don't tune into my Ellen drama hour? It's after my power hour.
We've got our Ellen drama cast. She also has a few quotes where she gets upset at people for calling her weapon a ring blade, which could be a reference to Mori Motonari from Sengoku Basari or Tira from Soul Calibur, who both have very similar weapons and both refer to them as ring blades.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, Riot. It's not a ring blade. It's an original idea.
Sorry, it's an omlotl.
Right.
I was really curious, because are you like atlatl is like a spear, and an ohm is kind of like circular, I guess. I wonder if the base was supposed to be just like a circular spear. Although she doesn't like toss it like a spear, she just kind of spins it. So
Yeah. I don't know. I think that I don't know. What I will say is I know Ixtal in general pulls a lot of its aesthetic stuff from like Mesoamerican like cultures, and I know that like that just that naming scheme of like that TL kind of sound is in a lot of
like the Quetzalcoatl type.
Yeah, that type of stuff. So I assume it's just that. And then atlatl is a weapon, so they're like, it's fine. That's enough, right? So I don't know. It's a good question though.
Makes sense. All right, we got AUs now. First up, we got Arcade. Deep within Arcadia's servers lies a sinister series of glitches known to all gamers as the Battle Bosses. Their corrupted code has brought them newfound freedom, but also new challengers. To complete their deletion of the arcade world, many of the bosses have agreed to put aside their differences until it's inconvenient. This one's Battle Boss Qiyana. For the record, that is also a new lore blurb for Arcade. And it's different than the original lore blurb. So.
Yeah, normally it talks about like there's like the 3 and like the gamers and the yeah.
Yeah, I think someone's been going through all the AUs and adding some new lore to them.
Can you fix the broken links or?
No. We've got priorities. Come on now.
You gotta learn about the deep lore of Arcadia, hun.
Fuck, I'm sorry.
Who gives a shit about the Freljord? So this was Battle Boss Qiyana, a princess constantly in need of saving in the 1981 arcade port of Super Ixtal Brothers. Sorry, I broke her.
You knew that line was going to fuck us up when you wrote it, okay?
I had wine in my mouth. What? Riot.
Qiyana needed very little convincing to empower herself with malignant battle boss code. She wasted no time testing her newfound abilities on the aforementioned Super Ixtal Brothers. They're dead now. She lives in their castle.
I like this version of Qiyana so much better. Can I play this video game, please?
That's pretty
Oh
fucking
my
fun
God.
right there.
Yeah. And she's part of the cinematic for this AU, Ultra Combo, which is like an animated and in-game footage of Yasuo, Qiyana, Kaisa, and Caitlyn just kind of kicking ass. Along to one of the most rockin' songs Riot has ever
yeah?
released. It straight up fucking sounds like Dragon Force wrote it.
What's it called?
Ultra Combo.
Ultra
Actually, yeah, the name of the song is just like the AU.
I'll have to give it a listen.
Pump that
Okay.
shit.
Oh, no. It's
Pump
probably on their
it.
free playlist, yeah. It's going to sound really good here.
This is the way to listen to it.
Oh, I've heard this.
It's like Dragon Force meets Mega Man.
Should I
It's
play that?
exactly my vibe.
Ooh, you ever listen
Instead
to
of
Power
Qiyana's
Glove?
theme.
I haven't.
Power Glove, you would like Power Glove. That's all I'll say. Check them out.
Nice.
Yeah.
But in case you're wondering, this was actually written by T. Lopes, who was a contractor who wrote a shit ton of new Sonic music for like the new Sonic games, and Jason Willie, who was a writer, who wrote like around 50 of the Champion themes. He wrote a shit ton.
That's pretty cool.
I was real curious, so
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't normally get the like songwriting credits on pieces.
No.
I know. I was real curious if anyone from Dragon Force had anything to do with it, because I know like when when Pentakill came out, like they had a lot of big names attached. So I was like,
Yeah.
it's not outside the realm of possibility. But next up, we got Riot Records, which is where True Damage falls under.
Can we get more True Damage songs, by the
Yes,
way? Because they
please.
only
Yeah, they
did
can.
Giants, right? We've got more KDA. I love Giants. I really want more True Damage. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I wonder if Kiki Palmer is just like too big now
Well, they replaced some KDA people, right? Or they had to like swap out some people.
for like a song or two.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kiki Palmer. I love you. Come back for it if you want. But I understand. You were great in Nope, by the way. She's clearly listening to this pod, right?
Well, yeah, you know.
She's a big fan.
Regular listener and Discord member Kiki Palmer.
Speed dial. We're besties. Anyway.
What is True Damage? Man, True Damage is the future.
Oh, God, John.
It's a collective of the best artists from around the world coming together with the best collaboration to make the best hip-hop music. We're 5 steps ahead of the game. Everyone else has got to catch up. That's a quote from Echo, who's in True Damage.
Thanks.
We got True Damage Qiyana. Qiyana is the daughter of Latin music royalty. With her family's esteemed reputation, she has an easy path to superstardom. And yet, she has her eyes set on something grander. With her brash confidence and rebellious persona, she's determined to change the game in not just music, but the entirety of pop culture.
You know, I this is like one of those rare moments where I look at an AU and I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. Where like the fun is like you've got this the core of the personality, but it's still like very different in like the actual circumstances. It's not like, oh, it's Qiyana, but she's ice. You know, it's like, okay, I like that. She's kind of like an almost like an industry plant type situation, but is like, yeah, okay, I liked that. You know what I mean?
And there's a prestige skin on this one, too. Always a fixture in the spotlight, Qiyana dressed to impress at True Damage's sold-out concert in Paris. While the paparazzi swarmed her with photos and questions, she reveled in the attention, knowing this was only the beginning of her empire of celebrity. I guess we'll find out.
Well, you know, I mean,
And it's part of a few cinematics on this. First of all, is Breakout, which is the short teaser that was released before the Giants music video. Virtual hip-hop group True Damage was born when KDA's lead rapper Ixtali sought to bring together the distinct talents of Echo, Senna, Qiyana, and Yasuo in an ambitious, genre-defying collaboration. And then, obviously, she was part of Giants, which is an awesome music video. Here are some notes about Qiyana in here, for the record. Qiyana's parts are sung by Becky G. In this AU, Qiyana's nickname is Kiki, which, for the record, there's a bunch of little legends named Kiki that came out right around the time the True Damage came out, and they are all like, you know, with the stylish sunglasses and all that shit. They're very cute. But her nickname in this AU is Kiki, and she has a line in the song that says, "Now they ask where Kiki's at. I'm like, you can't hang with that."
I never knew who they were talking about.
Unfortunately, Senna's parts in that song are sung by Kiki Palmer. So tons of people who knew that Kiki performed in this song but didn't know who she sang assumed that she was singing Qiyana's parts after hearing that line. It was very confusing, despite the fact that Becky G sings some of her parts in Spanish and Kiki Palmer has a pretty recognizable voice.
nice. Okay, well, oops.
Whoops.
What are you gonna do?
Right.
And then there's a comic, which it's part of the KDA universe. It was Harmony's issue 1, and this is more than just, you know, a poster on the wall. So
Whoa.
I know.
Whoa.
2 posters on 2 walls.
Double the pleasure, double the fun. So Seraphine's having a...
What a horrible slogan for gum. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't
It's a
know. I
statement
mean,
of the great men.
It sounds so dirty.
With double mint gum.
And the gum's not even good.
they should go whole hog on it and like double mints for like when you've done some nasty mouth shit.
You can't get that taste out of your mouth from last night.
You gave someone the suck, you got their power, get that double mint in you.
Now, I don't want to follow further down this rabbit hole, but you guys remember the old Extra bubblegum commercials?
No.
I mean, the slogan was basically just extra, extra, extra long time. But every single fucking commercial, when they had someone performing it, it was sexual as hell. They're like, this'll last for extra.
Oh, yeah.
Extra.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like,
Extra long time.
I do remember
fuck?
that.
You're welcome, listener.
I need you kids to know what it was like growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s. Because even the double mint gum, I remember it was always like hot twin ladies.
It was always hot twin ladies.
you want to
Yeah,
fuck this
it was-
gum, don't you?
For an extra long time.
Eat our bubble gum. Hot twin ladies will have sex with you for an extra long time.
All right, anyway.
Anywho.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
So, in this one, Seraphine's having a tough time nailing a part, and everyone takes a break. Everyone's tensions are high. So
Is
a colleague
Seraphine in this?
in KDA.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was like totally not listening.
I know.
No, I just got distracted by the gum. I was just
The
Anyway, it was like
resigned
an
way you
80%
said,
chance I'm not listening.
I know. It's just like I
We've
was
been
listening.
together for over 10 years. He knows. I'm not fucking listening to his ass. Anyway.
You just told me the other day. I was like, "Oh, you're done editing." She's like, "Oh yeah, I don't listen to the part where you talk."
No, that is not. That is wow. You were taking
Holy
that so
shit.
out of context. No, you were taking that so out of context. I was editing for a really long time, and you had your friend over, and I felt bad that you were watching the baby the whole time your friend was over. So I was trying to get through fast. So I was like, we're getting to the AU parts soon, and I don't really need to edit those. Like I know you've got, I don't need to edit those. I don't need to listen to
Vote
the
of
AU
confidence.
parts
Vote of
again.
confidence. Right?
I normally listen to it 99% of the time. I listen to you blather on about the AUs fucking twice.
Holy shit, it's getting vicious. Damn.
But one fucking time, I was trying to quickly edit so I could take the baby and you could have fun with your friend. And you were like, this bitch doesn't listen to me.
And also, you leave the toilet seat up, and there was that one
Fucking toilet. No, actually, I'm very good about the toilet seat. Also, I look
my-
before I sit. I like. if you left it up, I don't think it'd be a problem. But anyway.
So I'm gonna get.
I have other things I
this
could.
comic.
Marital things I could.
I haven't even made it to the part that.
Oh right, sorry. Seraphine's.
She's in.
Seraphine's sad. Is that it? She's having a tough time nailing a part.
Yeah. So everyone takes a break. Tensions are high. Akali takes Seraphine on a bike ride to a scenic overlook and tells her, it's cool. Egos clash all the time. That's how good music is made. And I took everything I learned from this group and I brought it all over to True Damage. And then we get to see a bunch of behind-the-scenes recording photos of True Damage, recording all their music. So, we get to see some personality shine through there.
Do they get into, is that them, fighting and, egos actually clashing?
No, these are they're their fun ones. They're hanging out in the hotel.
Publicity
they're
stills.
Chilling in the recording room,
It's just cute, witty banter like us.
Right?
Look at us.
Look at us. That's the biggest fight you'll ever see from us.
I felt uncomfortable. It's like when you're over at a friend's house and their parents start fighting and you're like,
really?
No, I'm just fucking with you.
Great, the one
hilarious.
that we record video for.
No. That is the worst, though. Do you ever hang around a couple who's legit fighting when you're around them all the time?
Yeah.
Can you do this outside?
Too old. Can we just finish eating dinner? So next up we got Battle Queens. Once fractured by endless warfare, the collective queendoms of Elysia have realized the true nature of their world, that the magic holding their fantastical plane together is maintained only through conflict. They have thus allied through the unifying conflict of the Grand Coronation, though some alliances are beginning to show cracks. This one's Battle Queen Qiyana. I didn't realize it before. This is the second skin of hers that starts with battle. Battle boss, battle queen.
Yeah.
Qiyana.
Fighting all the time.
Qiyana is the youngest in a line of sisters who have been queens of Ixtal for most of the recent coronations. She's been waiting impatiently for her chance at the crest and the title. Now that she has it, she intends to use the power she gains in the tournament to remake Ixtal in her vision. And so fun fact about this one, while all the other queens rule new made-up regions, Janna rules Ori, Rel rules Calamity, Diana rules Eosia, and Katarina rules Schema, Qiyana just rules over Ixtal. They didn't give it a new name.
It's almost made up in the real lore anyway, so
Ouch.
Yeah. That is fucking hilarious, though.
That's really... They couldn't be fucked. They were whatever. No one knows what Ixtal is anyway.
No, you're right. No one's gonna fucking know. We're the only people who... Yeah. That's fucking great.
People who have ever talked about Ixtal. I feel like Necrit's gotta have a video, right?
Oh, he's got a couple.
Just kidding.
Yeah. And Anessa and Mara, who are the only two sisters, I think, from her main lord that are ever named, also show up in this story as also the only two named sisters.
Great. Awesome. Cool.
I love a champion that's one of Qiyana's sisters, honestly.
Just a shittier champion?
No.
'Cause I think all her sisters suck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
It's hard. I thought that Inessa actually would be a lot of fun because she had this big fight and failed, and she comes back, and who knows what she comes back as. I also thought, I remember when I said this about Neela, is that she should be from Ixtal. She's big in the elemental thing. I thought she would be fun as a sister who went off knowing that she couldn't beat Qiyana and did her little demon pact thing, and now comes back into the mix all Neela'd out.
Oh, that'd be pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a way better.
There we go.
That's a way... Rewrite Neela, Riot. Did you just hear this shit? That's way fucking better.
Anyway.
Redo it. Neela is Anessa now.
Or maybe, she's made of candy and she's from the sugar sweet land in I don't remember.
She's made of candy.
Still better. And there's a short story for this called Battle Queen Crests by Kat Manning and Jared Rosen. So Anessa and Mara are basically talking about how it's Qiyana's turn to be queen for the year. Apparently they switch turns every year. But they're worried that she'll suck at it, which they're right. But she's strong, so they assume it's worth the risk, and she can't do that much damage in a year. But Qiyana was listening to the whole exchange hidden in the woods and seems to have a very hold my beer attitude about it. Like, I'll show you how much I can do in a fucking year.
I like that.
Yeah. And at the tourney, she gets into an argument with Jana, who is very unimpressed with Qiyana and calls her unproven.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We're not mad, Qiyana. Just disappointed. That's what that would feel like to me.
Next up, we got Lunar New Year, set around the mythos and festivals of Ionia's Lunar Revel and real-world Asian Lunar New Year. All the champion skins were inspired by these regional cultures.
I have not seen this one.
This one's Lunar Empress Qiyana. For some, forgiveness is a blessing. For Empress Qiyana, it is a necessity. Though the hostility between her empire and the empire of the Great Sea is the fault of her sisters, she seeks atonement at this year's banquet. The only barrier to reconciliation with Empress Ashe is her pride, in a centuries-old grudge between her guardian Malphite and a newly resurfaced giant serpent.
I don't remember any of this. I know we weren't doing AUs when we did Ashe. No, we were, because I know we talked about...
Yeah, I mean, Ashe has gotten a lot of new skins since we covered her.
Yeah,
too.
that must be it. Yeah, okay.
She's probably doubled her fucking skin.
I guess it has been a little while.
Yeah, a lot of this seems new.
Yeah.
And then next and final one is Cloud Edge.
I've not seen this one either.
Yeah.
This one I only knew because of TFT.
Who is next? Is that Shen?
It is Zed, I think.
Oh, Zed. That makes more sense. They're both fucking ripped. Kiana's really jacked in this one.
Yeah. Bearing weapons imbued with lightning magic through the deadly cloud ritual, shock blades are an order of mysterious shinobi warriors tasked with protecting humankind from malevolent spirits and monsters. They travel between the mortal and spirit realms to chase down threats no one else can touch, safeguarding the future for all denizens of the mortal world. And this one is Shockblade Qiyana. Tempestuous as the storm itself, Qiyana braved the cloud ritual despite warnings that no one had survived in years. Perhaps it was her display of stubborn courage the storm found worthy, or something else. Either way, she's now Shen's student, determined to master lightning the same way she mastered the other elements.
This is weird because that whole setup sounds like what Shen is doing, like IRL in like the ghost cop thing, right?
But no, storm magic.
Okay. Sorry.
Not to be confused with Kennen. Different storm magic.
Yeah, right.
Different shinobis protecting the balance.
It's all just it's all fluid. It's all just in one big melange.
It's like poetry. They rhyme.
Y'all ready for some fun facts?
Yeah, there's a lot of fun facts.
Well, I like to be a little fun.
Just
we have fun here.
John demands it.
Qiyana is voiced by Mansi Hernandez.
Nice. Good job.
Influences for Qiyana include various rappers, telenova villains, and Jar Jar Gabor, surprisingly.
I don't know what that is.
It is an old actress who I literally only know of because, I mean, my parents liked her, and
was she Catholic?
No.
Okay. Jar Jar Gabor.
She was like, you ever play that alphabet game with like celebrity names, where you like go around trying to think of someone whose first name begins with the and then if you people who tried to screw you with a Z, Jar Jar Gabor was always like a good like swing it back at him.
So can I say, I'm 99% it is Jar Jar, not Jar Jar, because it sounds like you're saying Jar Jar Gabor.
I know. It's like a Jar Jar Binks thing. I didn't realize he was talking about a real person for a second.
It's fine. I had to say it.
Because someone else was going to correct you. It's gentler if it comes from Mark.
Misa Gabor.
Misa Zarzar.
Why can't we get that champion, Riot?
Yeah, where's my Jar Jar Binks champion, Riot?
One of the original visual directions for Qiyana was for her to be from a new race of metal people from a brand new continent.
Huh. Interesting.
Visual goals for Qiyana included her being a female AD assassin and a cute evil champion, since both opportunity spaces were previously lacking.
Vigar is cute and evil.
That's true, but he's a dude, so fuck him. In development, Qiyana was able to control fire, but it was scrapped due to lack of fire on Summoner's Rift for her to pull from. And now she has a line that acknowledges that she can control fire, but she doesn't want to show off.
Yeah, it's in even in her splash, there's flames and fire. This is another reason why I don't understand her splash and her stories and her in-game. It just does not line up.
Yeah.
An original iteration of Supreme Display of Talent, which is her ult, allowed Qiyana to explode the entire fucking river.
Cool. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Empress of the Elements, which is her title, is actually a self-proclaimed title that Qiyana gave to herself.
That sounds right.
And she's 20 years old.
Okay.
So while Quinn was the first champion whose name started with a Q, which was, at the time, the only letter of the alphabet that had no champion associated with it, when Qiyana got released, that made it so now there are at least 2 champions starting with every letter of the alphabet.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. If you use any emote within 10 seconds of a takedown with Qiyana, she'll dab.
Oh my
Fucking
god.
dope.
That's one of those things that's really gonna it's already dated it.
Yeah.
Like Twisted Fate doing the Gangnam Style.
I love it.
Oh, me too. I really I don't ever want them to change that shit. It's a sign of the times of when they were released. Yeah.
Yeah.
So given her her clear, although unspecified, Mario connection in the arcade skin line, her skin may actually be inspired by the fan-created Bowsette. If you look at a lot of her accessories and shit like that.
Wasn't it before the whole Bowsette fiasco? I say fiasco.
Fiasco.
How dare
The
you.
ongoing Bowsette incident.
You've heard of COVID, but have you heard of Bowsette?
It's way worse, trust me.
I don't think before it.
No?
Maybe
Okay.
before it got big.
Oh, okay. Maybe before I had heard of Bowsette.
So Prestige True Damage Qiyana and True Damage Senna were done in collaboration with Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
And Qiyana's clothing design was based off of Resort 2020 Louis Vuitton collection, which I definitely recognize just by looking at it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Is it the Resort 2020?
You bougie motherfucker.
From my boy Louis?
My boy,
My
Louis V.
Louis.
Louis Vitz.
Hey,
Oh, man.
Louis.
And finally, True Damage Echo, True Damage Senna, and True Damage Yasuo were planned early in development to be, part of the group. But the last 2 members of the group, they wanted to fill with people who resembled either Lee Sin or Shen. And then they replaced the 2 of them with Akali and Qiyana.
Who look just like Lee Sin and Shen. Obviously.
I think they
image.
made the right decision, I'll say.
Yeah.
At least with Qiyana. Akali, whatever,
They needed that connection to bridge the KDA Giants thing.
I could see that.
And if you get the opportunity to bring Soyeon back to your group, you're gonna take it. Those are all the fun facts, though.
I think that's Qiyana. I think that's it.
I think so. Can I just say I had a joke written down that I never got a chance to use, which is that when she uses her
for
grass, she becomes Keanu Reeves.
Ooh.
Well, you can edit that out, right?
Very, very good.
Can we get a Keanu Reeves skin? Now, which version of Keanu Reeves do we want?
That's good. Point Break.
Now, did you say Reed?
I said reeds because they're like plants, right? Get it?
Yeah, Reeves. I got
Yeah.
you. It's
Oh,
alright.
I was like, oh no, I got it.
Of all the things, it wasn't Point Break. Not the Matrix.
It's his one movie.
Not the what's the
Speed.
what's the new one?
Johnny Mnemonic.
No, where they killed his dog, so he kills them all.
Yeah, Johnny Mnemonic.
Be Good.
No. What are the movies called?
John Wick.
Wick. What, is it just called Wick?
Just John Wick. John Wick.
John Wick. Thank you, Jesus.
Keanu.
Keanu Wick.
It's got to match one of the elements, right?
Oh.
We have left water and stone.
Yeah, no, there's nothing.
Nope.
Oh, there's something.
No. Jokes in the making, everybody.
Yeah.
Keanu Drip.
All right.
Okay.
That was Qiyana. Thank you for listening. Sorry about these last 2 minutes.
Yeah, you were right to
Slick.
apologize.
We don't ask this much, but if you could leave a review on like Apple Pod or rate on Spotify, something like that, that helps out a lot. Or leave comments on YouTube. We do have a YouTube. Subscribing there also helps a lot. John posts some fun parody songs there, so please be sure to check those out. Mark sang the last one.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Really good shit. We have a Twitter as well. It's at Loreheads, and a Twitch, twitch.tv/Loreheads. John streams every weekend, or this week because it'll be Christmas soon.
Yeah,
So,
it's been a, holiday months. They're tough.
December's strange. I'm going to start trying to stream some writing sprints there. And yeah, I don't know. We've tossed around some ideas of what we want to do, but that's twitch.tv/Loreheads. We have a Discord as well if you want to join in on our riveting conversations. John usually pokes in the most. Yeah.
Mark's been there a lot recently.
Yeah. I'm the worst at checking the Discord, but if you ever at me, I'll pop in.
That's true. Just a quick note: if you're trying to reach out to us and you don't tag us, and
I'm
your
not going to
message is
see.
in general.
General
we will
is
never see.
Yeah, general will never see. We have a Patreon as well. Thank you so much to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda and All Chat tier enabled patrons: Chloe Things, Kindred Enjoyer, King of Hearts, Shupa Mustache, and Techno Robert. You are all the best, and if you were in line of succession ahead of Qiyana, I would make sure that she couldn't get to you.
Nice. It's a nice thought.
You're welcome.
Yeah. He could take her.
Yeah.
There's no elemental magic here. She were in our world.
Yeah.
That's true.
You could beat up that 20-year-old girl.
You just punch her once in the mouth. She just goes down like a sack of potatoes.
Okay.
But she has weapons.
Please join us next week. As we finish up the cues already.
Oh, man, we did it.
With Demasia's Wings, Quinn.